Hello and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. I'm your host Sonali Nigam, and today I'm joined by Alistair Bow, Managing Director at Thomas Bow. Hi, Alistair. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Good morning.
Good morning. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are and what you do?
Yes, I'm Alistair Bow. I'm Managing Director of Thomas Bow. I'm also Chairman and major shareholder of Nottingham Rugby. We've got various other business ventures, and I'm also Chairman of Wellesby Forest, which is a an outdoor and educational charity based up in North Nottinghamshire.
Interesting. Well, we've talked about how you are the major shareholder of Nottingham Rugby and ch the chairman of Walsby Forest Charity as well. Would you like to talk a bit more about this so that our audience know you more in terms of which businesses you support?
Well, yes. I mean, obviously with Thomas Bow, that's got, that's the core business, if you like. I mean, I'm the sixth generation of Thomas Bow. Uh, so it started back in the late 1800s, and it would have, well, I'm the sixth generation. So Lawrence Bow came over from Ireland, and he started whitewashing factory walls. And he settled in Nottingham, and our first offices were on Lamentine Street in Nottingham, which I believe were bombed during the First World War. Um, and and they very quickly grew into a major building and civil engineering business. And they built thousands of what we would know today of social housing around Nottingham. And for those people who know the history of Nottingham, they built places like the Wilford Power Station, which was demolished to make way for the new B&Q that was built down on Riverside. They also built the Wilford Crematorium, Bilborough College, many of the schools that's still around today. And they built the Barclays Bank that's in the Market Square. That's one of theirs. They built the Raleigh Factory and many buildings at the University of Nottingham. But they then developed they then went into more civil engineering and did a lot of the sewer work around Nottingham. And then over the years, they diversified and went into heavy plant hire, earth moving. They even had their own cement business for a period of time. And then latterly, my father and my grandfather, they ended up going into what I would call more luxury housing, bespoke building houses. Then back in 2002, I rejoined the business after some years away, and I set up my passion, which was civil engineering and surfacing, asphalt surfacing. And I asked the family if I could use the Thomas Bow brand and continue with it. And I set that up in 2002 with a couple of business partners I brought in. We started from zero really, and yeah, 25 years later, this is where we are.
Lovely. So 25 years and more to this business. What do you attribute your growth to, Alistair?
Oh, well, there's many. I think financial discipline. I think you've got to have a very, very strong financial discipline. You've got to manage your cash very, very carefully, and and avoid debt. I think I think they are the key ones. They are the key ones to me, really. Not being a wild risk taker, I think is very, very important. And ensure that you are a risk manager, if you like. Um, and these are across whether it's Nottingham Rugby or Walesby or any of the other ventures. I think these disciplines are all important in anything that you do in life, certainly in business.
True.
And I think sharing rewards, uh, finding good partners. I think finding good partners to work with. Um, I think you're. I think. I think the the risk of success is greater, I believe, with having a like-minded management team. It's important to make sure that your core management team is on the same page as you are. If you're all pulling in different directions, that is a challenge. So I think because I've had a very, very good management team and very good business partners, that's really helped. Um, I think we've got a great work ethic between us, and we're very driven, and we're very, very driven. We set our goals, and therefore we knew where we were heading, and we all had to be heading to the same goal. So we've all got to follow in the same direction, and I think and some ways that's a little bit of luck as well, because I've managed to have some very, very good business partners and and a very good management team for a very long period of time, and therefore we're all heading. And I think that does take a little bit of luck to have to keep that team together
Hmm.
for so long. And I think the other reason I think where the success with growth is that you've got to lead by example. You know, if you lead by example, that will help your growth. Um, um, and and I think they're probably the key areas, really.
Interesting, Alistair, but I heard you touching on an important aspect, which is team. Team is crucial. Well, you give a lot of credit to your management team as well. But can I ask, I mean, what qualities do you look for in employees when you hire them? And how do you foster a positive and a productive environment within your team?
Wow. Well, family, friends. Interesting that I've got a very large number of family and friends in the business,
Wow.
and in some ways that gives you its own challenges, but it helps with loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and because I've worked before, you know, before I came back to Thomas Bow, if you like, uh, I'd worked around the country in various roles,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd met a lot of people and worked with a lot of people. And I think that was a good grounding for me. And I knew the sort of people that I thought, yes, I could work with you. And I think that when I look back, that is massively important because I think I managed to get the right people
Uh-huh.
alongside me to help grow the business, if you like, take it from where you know, I mean, we were pretty much at zero at that point. Yes, there was housing going on. My father was and his brother now were continuing with the housing, but they weren't doing any civil engineering or surfacing at that point in time. And I think we managed to do that because I got the right people with me, and I think that was the most important thing. And they've got to um, and they've got to be able to fit that role. You know, it's no good putting you know, a square peg in a round hole. It's finding the right people that's going to be able to do the role that you need them to do. I would say getting the right people is the most important thing.
True that, true that. What would you say, Alistair, are the biggest learning as a, you know, as a business owner of the business running successfully?
Um, wow. Profit is
It's king.
profit's more important than turnover.
True.
A lot of people will go out chasing for work, and actually, profit is far more important than turnover. So actually, I would say that's one of the best. Don't become a busy fool. You can spend a lot of time running around and actually and doing work for nothing. And that is not going to help your growth, and it certainly doesn't help your bottom line. If you don't make a profit, you don't make the cash surplus for investment. So I would say that's very important. Always remember that cash is king. Cash is still king today. It was the first day I got involved in business, and it's still the most important thing today. And I have a cash update on all of my business ventures every day.
Wow.
Doesn't matter whether I'm on holiday, whether I'm whatever's going on, I have a cash update on all of the businesses every day. And that because without the cash, you are technically buggered, aren't you? Really, you're in a bad and treat people as you would expect them to treat you. And I think mutual respect is very, very important. Yes, it's a lonely world, running a business. It can be very, very lonely, and you do need to be. I think you need to be very hard and tough, but you've also got to have empathy. And I think that comes with time. And I don't think you can necessarily, uh, I think you are to a certain extent, it's within you already. But I think over time, you realize that respect and empathy is very, very important. And I think the longer you are in business, I think you get better at it.
Hmm.
I think you do get better at it. But I think in my early days, I was probably too tough, too demanding. Yeah, too demanding, but I think I'm better at it today and I find that better balance.
Wow. Alistair, thank you so much for answering that. And we need to make sure that the interview is full of learning. And hence, can I quickly ask what challenges are you facing currently in your business?
Oh, politics, global uncertainty, with this sort of modern political world we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
I think since COVID, I'm not too sure we've recovered from COVID, but I think something's happened ever since COVID that gives us challenges every day.
Every day.
And
Yeah.
every day, and it doesn't matter which part of which which business sector I'm talking about, whether it's the rugby, which is very hospitality based, Walesby's
Uh-huh.
a very hospitality. Thomas Bow is, 80% of our work, 70 to 80% of our work is very public funded. They all have whatever's going on in the political world has an effect on all of those businesses. So I would say that the cost of employing people today, the cost of actually, if I look back and work out how much it cost me to employ an individual, say back in the early 2000s, today it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking.
Uh-huh.
Um, and and that is a challenge. And I think certainly for a lot of sectors like hospitality, um, where there's a lot of people on minimum wage, it's driven the costs to a point where they're gonna become unrecoverable because
Mm.
we're all only going to pay a certain amount for whether it's a pint of beer or a ticket to a concert or a ticket to a sport event. And I think that they're very big challenges, really. Um, and I would say finding experienced staff, um, and a workforce, um, that has really become a big challenge since COVID. I think we a lot of people retired, so we lost a lot of experience at the top end, and we seem to struggle, certainly in all of whether it's hospitality, building, construction. I think we're really struggling to get younger people into the business, and I'm not too sure why. Hopefully, we'll start to see that trend change. I don't think apprenticeship programs have been very well supported by successive governments. We've never really got to grips with it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's an area that we could do better individually as businesses. But actually, I think the country needs to look at that route and somehow get a system in where they do get a better pay. Some of the apprenticeship wages are not good enough, really. And I think if we are going to encourage people into starting at the bottom, if you like, and working the way through, learning a trade, then we've got to offer them better incentives. and so they can see where their future lies.
Mm-hmm.
I would say they
Alistair,
are.
thank you. No, there are some really important as well as rightly highlighted challenges that you've mentioned. So, Alistair, thank you so much for answering that. And while we were talking so much about your business, I also want to touch a bit about your personal life as well. So, how do you strike that perfect balance between your personal life and the professional one? What's the key, if we can ask that?
Oh, wow. Yeah, very, 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 very difficult. Very, very difficult. It's something I think about every week. Um, I think I think running your own business, it doesn't bear well. I think for having what I would call a balanced work and life at home. Um, you've got to work hard at it. You've
Mhm.
really got to work. Oh God, you're really making me think on this one. You've really got to. I'm just thinking if my family were watching this, it'd be very interesting. You have
Right.
to work hard, and you have to work hard at finding that right balance. And in some ways, somebody said to me yesterday that you always find time. You will always manage to fit things in, but you might not be as prepared, and generally, I'm always seem to be prepared for the work side of things, but probably not quite as prepared for the stuff
Mhm.
at home. Even though I'm never late, I'm never late. And I think if you're running multi businesses, and certainly everything I'm involved in is a 24-hour, 7-day operations. So that doesn't help. I don't have anything which isn't a 24-hour, 7-day a week operation. So that doesn't help. Um, but it is a challenge, and therefore you need. I think this comes back to having a very good partners and a very good management team around you, um, and of course you need a very supporting family. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy because it's not.
It's not.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's not because your businesses are an extended part of your family.
Thank you for that
So
utmost honesty with which you've answered this. Yes, sorry, you were saying something.
yeah, I just think yeah, every part of every business that you're passionate about, and you wouldn't be doing it if you weren't passionate. It is another part of your family, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore actually you know every day I'm at work, I feel I'm with my family. It doesn't matter where I am.
Uh-huh.
So that finding that line is quite difficult sometimes, because you can tend to say that I'm always with my family or I'm never too far away from my family. Um, but I think they would rather sometimes you be there and not think about what's going on elsewhere. But that's very, very difficult. It's very,
Mm-hmm.
very, very difficult to switch off, because there's always something that you've got to think about. You know, and in the early days, it was making sure you could pay the wages.
True.
And that occupied, certainly for the first 10, 15 years, you know, it occupies your mind an awful lot. Can I pay the wages next week?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can't get rid of it. You can't, it doesn't just doesn't disappear out of your head. Yeah, yeah.
True, Alistair, and it constantly stays in your mind because that is so important. So thank you so much. It was so inspirational. I am sure our audience have picked and learned so many things. Is there any closing remark before we wrap up that you would like to share with the audience?
Um, I think I think, often I think it was one of the things we talked about. There's a lot of misconceptions, isn't there, about running a business. And and often, and I'm hearing it a lot. Oh, I'd love to have my own business because I don't have anybody to report to, and I don't, and I often say that you always have a boss.
Ah,
You always have a boss. It doesn't matter. Whether you've got business partners, okay, they might not have the level of equity, but you've always got a boss at home. There is always somebody, a boss somewhere. And of course, when you're actually in business, you've got customers, you've got shareholders, you've got investors. We are always reportable, reporting to somebody. So I think it is a very, certainly I'm hearing it a lot more that, it's one of those big misconceptions I think that's out there that running your own business is easy because you don't have anybody to report to, but you always will have somebody to report to.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I think we already have a headline for our podcast, and it was great speaking to you today and learning so much about your journey as well, Alistair. Thank you so much. So, to everyone watching, I look forward to see you in my next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.